a biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Our Breaking Israel News segment. Mandy, a special welcome back.
Hi, nice to be with you once again.
You know, it's front of mind for so many people because we've been hearing this in the news headlines. Israel's preemptive strike against Iran. And, of course, you know, the media muddies things and clouds things left, right and centre, and we wonder, was this legitimate? Was this not legitimate? Where do you like to start with describing what's happened?
Right, well, I could go into a lot of details about a whole lot of individual things. I don't have time to cover them. As I was saying yesterday, Neil, I don't even know where to start. There's so much. But what I thought would be really important would be to tackle the idea or the accusation that Iran is a sovereign nation and Israel had no right to actually have a preemptive strike against her. Okay, there are a lot of people who are condemning Israel. Since the establishment of the Iranian regime in 1979, when they overthrew the Shah, established this radical Shia Islamic dictatorship, Iran has been at war. For the first number of years, they were at war with Iraq. The Iraq-Iran war saw over 1 million people killed between the two nations. Then when that ended, the goal began of establishing multiple armies and arsenals with one goal, to exterminate the nation of Israel. Remember in 2020 when the Trump administration announced that the terrorist leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Qasem Soleimani, had been killed? Remember that?
Yes, it was prominent in the headlines at the time, for sure.
Now he was the commander of the Quds Force and the architect of the Iranian military doctrine. There's another guy who was very high up in the Iranian military command. His name was Gholam Ali Rashid. He had a conversation with Soleimani, and Gholam Ali Rashid has said publicly, this is a quote, that Qasem Soleimani said, "I built 6 Iranian armies outside of Iran: Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, Syria, Al-Hashd al-Shabi in Iraq. Any enemy who wants to fight Iran will have to go through these 6 armies and will not be able to." Now, while Iran and Israel haven't each stood up and said, we are declaring war on the other country, they have been in a de facto war for over 40 years, roundabout, okay? Because you got Israel had 13 conflicts and outright wars with Hezbollah in Lebanon dating back to 1985. Israel's been in 4 outright wars with Hamas and a total of 15 deadly conflicts. Hamas was established in 1987 for the express purpose of destroying Israel and the Jews. They're all built by Iran. So Iran's outside armies have been making war with Israel. Other terror groups were established by Iran, Islamic Jihad and others to varying degrees have been involved. And they've embedded themselves in Arab towns in Judea and Samaria. So Israel has been in a de facto war with Iran for at least, let's say, 30 years. Okay, so it's not like Israel just suddenly decided, I want to start a war with Iran. They've been at war for decades. De facto style.
Well, you know, when we hear proxy, that word proxy, you know, when we're talking about Hezbollah or Hamas or the Houthis, that really means Iran is the puppet master. So it's like these are external Iranian armies.
By their own admission.
By their own admission. So,
by Soleimani's admission.
Yep. Okay, so take us back to your thoughts on what happened last Friday, why Israel decided to strike at that time.
Sure. Well, Bibi Netanyahu has been warning the world for the past 40 years about the existential threat of Iran. And Iran has been building nuclear facilities for a very long time. They're all dotted across Iran. And last week, Iran was literally just a matter of days away from being able to produce at least 10 nuclear warheads. The Atomic Energy Agency, International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, had already condemned Iran for being non-compliant. Listen, they've been signing, agreements and making agreements for years to pacify the world while continuing on making their weapons of war. Remember when, we weren't around, but remember when Neville Chamberlain travelled to go meet with Hitler to stop the outbreak of World War II. He came back with a signed agreement, waved the paper in the air as he got off the plane and said, peace in our time. And then Hitler marched across Europe and plunged the whole world into World War II. So a piece of paper and agreement with a tyrant means nothing. Not only that, but Iran and their ballistic missile development was at such scale that it would have had at least 10,000 in their arsenal. In a couple more years, they would have reached 20,000. Now, it doesn't matter which nation is targeted, be it Israel or Saudi Arabia or Jordan or Egypt, they would not be able to withstand 20,000 intercontinental ballistic missiles launched at them in one go. All right? And listen, the Ayatollahs, they want the whole of the Middle East, they want Israel exterminated, they want America gone, and they want to dominate the world for Islam. It's an apocalyptic goal that they have. It's their ideology. Now, on top of that, Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, he presented Iran's plans to invade Israel from all sides with both a nuclear strike and thousands of terrorists from Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and some other participating groups to do basically another attack along the lines of October 7, but on a national scale. So with all of these threats, Israel had literally only a number of days to react, and so they did. Now, there are a lot of nations of the world saying, listen, Israel had to do it. A lot of nations are condemning Israel, but in quiet, secret rooms, they're going, thank God Israel did this. Like in 1981, Saddam Hussein in Iraq was close to completing a nuclear weapons plant in Osirak. Israel flew a very daring mission there and destroyed it on June 7, 1981. Okay, and the whole world condemned Israel, but then thanked her privately. And it was almost 44 years to the very day, with only a week's difference, that Israel did the preemptive strike on Iran. Now, the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, stated that Israel is undertaking the dirty work on behalf of the rest of the world. He said this is the dirty work Israel is doing for all of us. We are also victims of this regime. The Mullah regime has brought death and destruction to the world. And then he posted on social media, again, this is the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. He said, Israel has the right to defend its existence and the security of its citizens. Iran's nuclear weapons program is an existential threat to the state of Israel. So she had no alternative.
Okay, so I've been watching scattered reports and, what is it that the Israeli military has achieved so far? Have you got a bit of a, in a nutshell, update on what actually has been achieved?
Do you remember last year in April of 2024, Iran sent its first hundreds and hundreds of ballistic missiles into Israel? And then Israel waited to respond. She eventually did on October 26 of last year. And Israel was very strategic in what it struck. It took out 20 strategic locations that hindered their weapons manufacturing and also left them unable to control their skies or see any aerial incoming threats. And a lot of commentators kind of went, well, Israel went a bit soft. That was a bit weak. It didn't do much. A very wrong assumption. With the overthrow of the Assad regime and the new regime having no capacity to defend its skies, Iraq also can't defend its skies because it was taken over by Iran, and Israel has completely defanged Iran as far as its capability of its air defence. So Israel can now fly unhindered from Israel over Syria, over Iraq, and directly into and over Iran. Now, Israel took out the senior Iranian military leadership, made good progress on damaging and halting their nuclear capacity. It's not completely out, but they've damaged it. They took out their leading nuclear scientists and leadership of the nuclear program. They took out about a third of Iran's missile stockpile storage and launching capacities, even their mobile missile launchers and underground facilities. So that's what Israel was able to do pretty quickly, I might add.
And, of course, Iran has responded with their very large missile and drone capabilities. And what we're seeing on our screens is really quite one-sided. We're seeing the missiles coming in on those Israeli cities.
Yes.
There's not the same camera technology that I'm seeing in media, but we're certainly seeing those missile and drone capabilities unleashed on Israel.
Yeah, thank God that these stockpiles are depleting, but Israel is still being hammered. Like, I can't tell you how many, it's just overnight and this morning and all of yesterday, Israel is being hammered but most of their people are just getting to safety. 80% of the Israeli population are in complete agreement with what their government and their military is doing. Yes, there are damaged buildings. I think it'll be over 20 people now that have been killed. Over 300 have been injured. Just yesterday, a facility for some of the most severely disabled children, over 300 children were in bomb shelters, and that facility was completely destroyed. So they're targeting civilians. Israel is only targeting military and weapons facilities. They are not targeting civilians. But that was the goal of the Iranian regime, target the civilians in Israel to make them fearful and to demoralise them, but it's not working at all. But the Israeli government then warned Iran and said, if you continue to target civilians, then we're going to tackle your infrastructure. So they've destroyed 2 oil depots, numerous companies that supply and provide components and electronics to the regime for military purposes. The Iran state television has been destroyed. The sewage system in Tehran was damaged, and so you've just got the water is just flowing through the city like a river. Israel has issued a warning to the citizens and civilians of Tehran to get out of the city and get to safety because more is coming. They don't want the civilians to be harmed. But the Israeli ambassador to the US has made a bit of a cryptic statement. He made mention, he said, you remember the beeper and the beeper situation in Lebanon and the walkie-talkies? And it shocked the world. Well, he said that there are some surprises that are going to emerge amid the Jewish state's conflict with Iran that will make Israel's explosive pages and walkie-talkies used by members of Hezbollah in Lebanon and Syria look simple. I don't know what that means, but they've got something up their sleeve.
Okay, the eyes of the world are on Israel and Iran, and then if you had 3 eyes, you'd have one on America.
Yeah.
What was going on there? Of course, we know that Donald Trump left the G7 meetings,
yes.
and our Prime Minister Albanese was left on the sidelines and missed out on having his meeting with him. But what about America in all of this?
Okay, well, the headlines I saw this morning was, yes, he left the G7 meeting early to go home because of the Middle East situation. He's meeting with the Joint Chiefs about whether or not the US military will become involved. I mean, is America's embassy, that's one of their consulate, it's in Tel Aviv because the main embassy is in Jerusalem, was damaged just lightly, no injuries. But President Trump has already said if there's any injury or harm or targeting of America in any way, shape or form, America's all in. Well, he doesn't want to go to war. That's the truth. But anyway, they're going to be talking about it. Let's put it that way. But Bibi Netanyahu has actually said that Israel has got plans for the Fordow nuclear site, which is basically under a mountain. And Donald Trump did say, we know where the Ayatollah is hiding. He won't be hard to find. Just saying. He's just putting that out there, you know.
And, our mind might go to surrender or regime change in all of this. And to know that there is, a descendant of the original Shah of Iran, goes back to the 1970s, who is actually making his own call on Iranians. So what do you know about that?
Yeah, I believe it's the grandson. Sometimes I want to say the son, but I think it's the grandson of the Shah is actually calling on the people of Iran to rise up, that the regime is at its weakest and that now they have the opportunity to get rid of this regime and get their freedom back, to take their country back. So that's what the descendant of the Shah is saying. I'm sorry, I don't actually have his name written down in front of me. I do apologise for that. But there are riots and unrest taking place in Iran as well. They want their land back. Can I just say, there are about 79,000 mosques in Iran. 50,000 of them are empty because the people of Iran are leaving Islam because they hate what their leaders represent in Islam, and the church is growing there. The church is growing exponentially of them. Now, I want to just finish by playing a short video. This is of a gentleman named Robbie Dawkins. I don't know if he's a pastor or just a man in a part of a church. After the preemptive strike last Friday, he received a text message from Christians that his church is connected with in Iran, begging the church in the West to pray for them. They want freedom from this Islamic regime. The first few words are missing from the video, but that's basically what the first few words are.
Brothers asked me to write you to beg the church in the West to pray for Iran. For all of us who are hostages of this Islamic Republic, Ayatollahs and their regime, while $100 equals 7 million toman, that's their money. The morality police is back to beating us to death for not keeping Islamic rules and laws. We work a month for only $100. Everybody are hungry and mentally unstable at this point. Because of sanctions, there is no medicine for us. For years, we are shouting for help, but no one comes. Islamic Republic is not Iran. Please tell the church in the West, Islamic Republic is not Iran. Last night, everybody here, pray Israel, be safe. We prayed for hours, and we hear none die. And we were happy of this. But dear brother, we were happy about the attack because this might be the beginning of our nation being invaded by Israel and the U.S. in order to save us. We pray, U.S. and our Jewish brothers, the Israelites that we love, come set us free. And let the history know that we Iranians are the only people who want to be invaded by the West to free us from this Islamic devil. Beg the church to pray for innocent people of Iran because we are under attack by these demons for more than 47 years now. The rate of suicide is the highest it has ever been. If we will be wise enough not to kill ourselves, we may end up just dying in prison for not obeying this Islamic Republic or for knowing our great Jewish King Jesus. He is our God. Please ask them to pray.
Very emotional, very moving,
emotional.
And I guess the message in that, Mandy, is that our listeners might be themselves moved to prayer,
yes,
not only for Israel, but also for the Iranian people,
yes,
because some level of liberation is what we might be capturing in that message.
I was asked just the other day, please explain to me why this is going on. I don't understand, and the media is really bad against Israel. And I said, you have to understand, this is a spiritual battle first and foremost. So please, pray for the people of Israel and pray for the people of Iran.
Mandy, thanks so much for that update today on 2020.
Pleasure.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.